What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and thank you so much for joining me once again. This is part 2 of our 3-part series on chicken parmesan. If you missed part 1, I'm going to put a card up here, whichever side it pops up on. Go ahead and check that out, and then come on back and check this one out. This is actually pretty simple. The biggest thing you need to remember, especially if my wife is watching this, babe, pay attention. The most important thing is to make sure you season your protein. Always season your protein. I know I talked about it in the pork chop video the other day, and I'm going to harp on it every single time. Always season your protein. Now, in this case, just simple salt and pepper will do. I have already taken the liberty of doing that. I have also already taken the liberty of setting up my breading station. But, just so you guys know, what is needed for a breading station is breadcrumbs. These are no-name brand Italian style breadcrumbs because I don't know how to blur shit out. Another thing you're going to need is an egg wash. Now, to make an egg wash, it's really easy. You crack some eggs into a bowl. You add a little spritz or two from the faucet of water. When I say a spritz or two, I mean just a spritz or two. I'm saying you turn it on, you turn it off. Like just a tss, on and off. You know, you do that 1, 2, maybe 3 times at most. You don't want to really water it down. You just want a little bit in there. All right? You're going to take a fork or a whisk if you've got one. I like to use a fork. I've got the little whisk, but I like using the fork better. It's fun to break the yolks that way. And you're going to mix that up, almost like you're making a scrambled egg. And you want it to kind of look like you're making a scrambled egg. And then you're going to need some all-purpose flour. I say all-purpose flour because you don't want to do this with cake flour. You don't want to do this with, well, I guess you could do it with bread flour. I don't know. I've never actually tried. And you want to make sure that you season your flour. Now, just salt and pepper will do. Put it on the top. You mix it in all nice. You're not going to see a whole lot of it in there. You're not going to know if it's seasoned right. But having it in there will make a difference, okay? Now, in my case here, I've also got an extra plate set up. You definitely want that. But I've got mine covered with wax paper. And I've got extra sheets of wax paper. Simply because I am making so much chicken parm today that when I put it on the plate, I don't want it all to stick together in the bread and mess up my bread coating, okay? My bread coating is what I mean to say. So I'm going to actually lay the wax paper in between the layers of chicken. I'm going to put a few pieces down, wax paper, a few pieces down, wax paper, so on and so forth. So guys, the breading procedure is actually pretty simple. One thing you do want to make sure though is that you use one hand for dry stuff and one hand for wet stuff. Meaning, one hand is going to pick up your chicken, dip it in the flour, put it in the egg, but don't get it wet. The other hand is going to mix it in the egg to get it covered in egg, put it in the breadcrumbs, but try not to get breadcrumbs on, and then you're going to go back to the hand that touched the chicken originally with the flour, and you're going to get the breadcrumbs on the bread. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. We're taking our first piece of chicken. It's in the flour. We're getting it nice and coated with the flour. Now we're going to drop it into the egg wash with the flour hand, but we're not going to touch the egg wash. We're going to use our dry hand, or our other hand rather, our wet hand, and we're going to mix it in the egg wash like this. Okay? You're going to shake off some of that excess egg wash. You're going to drop it in the breadcrumbs. Careful to try not to get any breadcrumbs on your hands, because breadcrumb fingers! Now you're going to take the breadcrumbs and sprinkle a little on there, and you're going to coat it nice like so. Pat it in there a little bit, kind of like we did with the seasoning on the pork the other day. Alright? And then you're going to lay that on your plate. Now guys, while I know it doesn't seem too difficult once you get into a flow to flour, egg wash, and bread the chicken, it's actually pretty easy once you get the hang of it and once you get into a flow. It is a little bit tedious though and time consuming. So I'm going to go ahead and bread up the rest of these off camera, and we will jump over to searing the chicken. Alright guys, now that all the breading is all set and taken care of, we can move right on over to searing. But before we do that, I feel like I should just take a minute to remind you any leftovers you have, whether it's breadcrumbs, whether it's flour, or even egg wash, although typically there's not any egg wash left over, make sure you throw it away. Raw chicken is one of the biggest causes of foodborne illness as far as like food poisoning goes, salmonella, E. coli, things like that. So you really want to make sure that you throw away anything left over that the raw chicken was in, so you don't get sick, so you don't make your family sick or whoever you're feeding with this. You don't want to make them sick. Alright guys, I've got my pan heating up. I've got my no-name brand extra virgin olive oil in there getting hot as well. About 2 tablespoons or so, but I'm going to keep the bottle out because chances are we're going to need some more before we're actually done making this. Also make sure your cabinets are closed so you don't whack your head on them while you're doing this stuff. Alright guys, so I brought you in nice and close here so you can actually see the pan up close. Now this pan is roaring and ready to go. I just need to grab my tongs. Which are still fucking. Now guys, our pan is nice and hot and ready to go, just like it was for the pork the other night. And basically, you're going to do the same exact thing. You're going to take a piece of chicken. You're going to make sure the oil is spread out. You're going to lay the chicken in the pan. You hear that sizzle? Gotta love that sizzle. Alright, and we're going to do a couple pieces at a time here, because we've got a lot of chicken to go through, including some of the smaller pieces. And we're going to let those cook up, and we're going to let those get nice and brown. Alright guys, so it's been about 2 minutes. We're going to take a look. Yeah, look at that. We got some nice golden brown color here, and we could even go a little bit longer if we wanted to, but I'm not too worried about it. And the pan is nice and hot, so it's searing up pretty good. So we're going to let this other side sit for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then we're going to transfer it over to the other pan. Alright guys, our first round of chicken is done and ready to go into the pan. Alright guys, so I've got the first round of chicken done and ready to go into the pan, and I'm going to keep browning off the chicken here and move on to the next step, which will be actually putting together and baking off the chicken parm. Now if you guys want to see that, you're going to have to subscribe to the channel so that you get the notification for the next video, because unfortunately this one is going to end here so that I can finish off searing this chicken up and we can move on to the next part. So if you are interested in seeing the next step in this, please do not forget to subscribe and turn on those notification bells. If you like what I'm doing, throw a thumbs up on there. If you hate me, throw a thumbs down on there. Share with your friends for whatever reason you deem necessary. And until the next time, guys, stay hungry.